Your Pittsburgh Steelers seem to be serious about this coaching thing and really trying to revamp that staff on offense to really make a push in 2024. Welcome back to Mike Drop Sports, everybody. I'm Jason. Let's talk about the Steelers and what they're doing coaching-wise and what is going on inside of that building that normally doesn't happen. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in serious talks and interviewing several candidates for many positions. And it appears that they're going to add positions to this coaching staff that they normally don't have. This is different, guys. This is something to be excited about if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. It shows the commitment from the organization, from the top down, from Art Rooney, talking about how all doors are open, all change could be considered. And this makes for a really exciting offseason if you're a Steelers fan, considering what they're going to be able to do on offense if they are able to build this staff in the correct way and get the guys in there that gel as a team, gel together. And that's the biggest thing here for us as Steeler fans while we watch this team get built from the bottom up offensively. The Pittsburgh Steelers interviewing guys like Tom Arth, Charles London, Phil Matsu, Matt Baker, Mateo Cambu. So many names right now that are being tossed around. And again, like I said there at the beginning, these are for several different positions, not just one spot. These guys aren't just all competing for one spot. They have picked a pool of candidates that they are truly interested in and believe that they can come in and contribute right away. And that is a positive change for the Steelers, a team that really usually doesn't go out there and hire a ton of assistant coaches. The coaching staff is usually one of the lower paid inside of the NFL. And this change here shows the commitment by this organization. When Art Rooney spoke about different things, trades, all this stuff that could happen, he spoke of one thing that I thought was a real interesting thing that he said. He says, hey, this is Arthur Smith's offense. Mike trusted him. This was Mike's hire. And I think Mike has given him the keys to be able to do the things he needs to do in order to be successful. And that is another positive sign that maybe Mike Tomlin is taking his hand out of the pile with some of these things and coming to be a more manager of the whole franchise instead of trying to be so involved with every little aspect of the team. Maybe he's now looking at the broader picture and allowing Arthur Smith to do his own thing and create an offensive staff that is geared toward Arthur being successful. Arthur Smith, a former head coach with the Atlanta Falcons, a former offensive coordinator, has experience and knows how to run a staff. So Mike Tomlin seems to be allowing Arthur Smith that opportunity to come in and build his guys, do the things he wants to do. And that is going to be special for Arthur Smith because now he doesn't have to do what Mike Tomlin is having to do right now and worrying about the broader picture. Arthur Smith is now able to focus on one singular thing, and that is making this offense score points and becoming an elite offense throughout the NFL. We spoke yesterday on the live show talking about how the Steelers only scored 304 points through 17 games in the NFL with a regular season. I didn't even think the playoff game actually was probably in that stat too. But they were ranked 28th out of 32 points scored, or teams with points scored. That is unacceptable if you're a Steelers fan. If you're a Steelers fan, you could get on board with middle of the road, mid-pack, a scoring offense, putting up a little bit more points to where the Pittsburgh Steelers were used to that kind of thing. We're not used to seeing them put up a gazillion points, being the best show on turf type thing. We're not used to that, and I don't think the fan base expects that. I think the fan base expects it to be average, middle of the road. And when you have the 6th ranked defense in points allowed on the other side of the coin, if you are a middle-of-the-road offense, 13th, 14th, 15th area, and you're averaging 24 to 25 points a game, that is a winning recipe. Especially if you are inside of an Arthur Smith-based offense, and if he continues to do what he likes to do, a run-heavy, a play-action-pass-heavy type offense, that is going to be another element to the defense with clock control, clock management, and that is going to be an excellent recipe for success for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think Mike Tomlin is going back to the beginning of his career when he had a younger Ben Roethlisberger an outstanding top shelf defense. And I think he's going back to that formula of a run heavy, pound the ball, be physical, play Steeler football, intimidate teams with your physicality, win in the trenches, and become a team, a complete unit. We always speak that here on this channel. You know that that's my number one key to success for any type of team, any football team, any sports team, and that is gelling together, becoming a cohesive unit, understanding what each other needs to do in order to be successful. No individual stars. Nobody's worrying about themselves. Everybody is focused on the team and succeeding for their teammate. That is the biggest thing. We understand that. We know that that's the key. And I think Arthur Smith is going to promote that type of atmosphere, especially when you're trying to bring in all these assistant coaches to give your guys, to give your players the tools in order to be successful, in order to be cohesive and become a solid group. And your players are going to see that. When they walk into that building for the first time and start these off-season workouts and these training sessions, these players are going to look at this coaching staff that has been revamped on the offensive side of the ball, and I believe they're going to get super excited. Why? Because they're going to know, hey, there are now extra tools, extra help here inside of this building. Guys are now here put in place by Mike Tomlin, by the front office staff, in order for us to have some extra guys to do some extra film breakdown, guide them in some things that maybe they didn't have somebody to guide them in before and previously. And that is going to get this team fired up, especially offensively. But there is one giant question that looms so large within the Steelers organization, and that is the quarterback position, and that is how are they going to attack that this offseason. And I think that is going to really tell the tale of the 2024 Steelers when you look at them on paper. And that is going to be, are the Steelers able to sign veteran quarterback, of Steeler veteran Mason Rudolph, a guy that came in and really did well in the final four games. Even in the playoff game, I thought he played well enough in order for the Steelers to win that ball game. I just don't think all three phases clicked well enough together as a cohesive unit in order for that to get done. I felt like there was some pivotal errors holding on to the ball, and Mason Rudolph isn't that guy. Yes, he threw the interception, but he didn't cause fumbles. He didn't do the other things, and he was able to remain poised even when he made a mistake to bring the Steelers within one touchdown, one score late in the ball game to give his squad a chance, and that's all you can ask for, because you have to have contributions from everybody else. The defense has to stand up, etc., etc. But are the Steelers going to be willing to ride into the 2024 season with a young, well, not even young anymore, a guy like Kenny Pickett, who is almost as old as Mason Rudolph? Everybody writes Mason Rudolph off like he's some old, ancient dinosaur quarterback, which is not the case. The guy is young. He is poised to do well and do big things. But are the Steelers comfortable in riding in without a plan B? And if Kenny Pickett does get injured, or he isn't progressing the way that they want him to, if he is not accepting these changes on offense and able to pick up this new offense installed by Arthur Smith and staff, what are you going to do? You have to have a backup plan of some sort. And I get all the trade talk. I get all the crazy scenarios of bringing players in. I just don't think a big-time, big-name veteran guy that you're going to spend a shit ton of money on is going to be worth the risk and reward. You're not going to have the reward with the risk that you take, I don't believe, because there are holes. There are several holes elsewhere. And for you to go and make a trade, a blockbuster-type trade, and give up 2024 draft capital, you have holes that you need to fill desperately, and I don't think you're going to be able to fill all those holes inside of free agency, and I think you would put yourself in a real bind if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're not able to acquire some of these key foundational pieces that are needed in order for this offense to really go. And if you're serious about giving Arthur Smith all the tools to be successful, like you are, letting him hire his staff, etc., allowing him free reign kind of building this offense, you can't just go in and not have all all the players in place that are needed to win, because it's hard, guys, if you don't have a good center, if your tackles suck, if you've got guys that aren't able to perform and execute at the level Arthur Smith needs for this offense to move. It just doesn't work. And if you look at the Steelers on offense, can Dan Moore Jr. continue to grow and get a little bit better? Is he able to slide over to the right tackle spot with a whole offseason to prepare? Because I think it's imperative for Broderick Jones to go back to his natural position, and that is left tackle, and he has to be there in my eyes. I know he played fairly well at the right tackle spot, especially as a rookie, but I think you really need to consider figuring out a tackle in this draft or maybe free agency. It's just going to be tough if you don't. You have to have tackles. You have to have foundational guys that are going to be there for years to come to build that cohesive group on the offensive line. Isaac Smalu played well. I thought James Daniels played well at times, but you're missing a center. Mason Cole played horribly. What do you do there? Are you going to be able to draft a guy that is able to come in and start immediately to continue that great lineage of centers in Pittsburgh? Are you going to be able to do that? You can't ride with Mason Cole. There's no way that you can go and ride with him for another year. I just don't think it works. I think it causes too much disruption within that offense. Bad snaps, poor blocking, missed calls. There's just too many variables with Mason Cole, and he had such a bad season in my eyes that it's too much of a risk to go into 2024 and start off with him at center. So I think you need to figure that out desperately. I think you need to add a receiver desperately. I know Calvin Austin could emerge and become a great wideout for the Steelers, but is he big enough to play a significant slot role? And the Steelers' offense sucked last year in terms of production in the slot. They didn't have it, and that is a problem. That stalls offenses. And if you're the Steelers and Arthur Smith, you have talented guys in Deontay Johnson, George Pickens. What do you do with them? You're going to have to mix it up. Allow them to play in and out, slot to outside. You're going to have to mix things up with them. Get them in better matchups, especially Deontay Johnson, who is an excellent route runner. You've got to get him one-on-one with a linebacker. That's what you really, really need to do if you're the Steelers. You've got to try to create those mismatches within that defense. And I felt like last year under Matt Canada, under Faulkner, under Sullivan, I think that was a significant issue, not creating the mismatches, going up best on best basically with defense, offense versus your opponents. And that's not where you want to be. You want to get your best players on their worst players. That's the name of the game when you're playing chess offensively in the NFL. You have to do that at any level. You have to match up well, create the matchups that make you succeed. It's just a real problem. And if you're the Steelers, like I said, that quarterback situation is going to really tell the tale here. It's really going to put the writing on the wall for your Steelers. And it's really going to be a big, big, big choice. And I think Mason Rudolph could be that guy. But are the Steelers going to get outbid? I think they're trying to underplay it. I've heard that they may have a deal already in place that when the time comes that they are allowed to sign players, that they are going to extend that offer, or Mason already may know that offer, so he may already be mulling it over. So knocked my mic out of there. But anyway, Mason Rudolph could already have a thought in his head about he's going to return to the Steelers. He could have already had those talks. We don't know. But I heard rumors that there is like an extension of a deal type thing in place for Mason Rudolph already right now as we sit in this offseason. Rooney says he wants him back. So I thought he played well enough that we should give him a chance if he is at the right price and he's available and doesn't go somewhere else in order to get a better opportunity. And that would be a squandered waste by the Steelers, who really didn't capitalize off of Mason Rudolph being in the building for 6 years. It's just a real problem. But the Steelers guys are really giving it a go, and we got to give them credit where credit is due. We bashed the shit out of this team, and it's rightfully so. It's warranted. They make a ton of mistakes, especially Mike Tomlin at the head. He makes a ton of mistakes. But again, the Steelers have faith in Mike Tomlin, and they are loyal to Mike Tomlin. So we have to accept what he's doing, and I think he is changing slightly, and he is starting to show that. he is starting to allow this staff to grow, and I think that might be the most important step in a Mike Tomlin coaching career that has been almost 2 decades now. And that is important because I think he was stuck in a rut. When you had a franchise guy like Ben Roethlisberger, I think it got him into a different way of thinking how to play football. And now I think Mike Tomlin is coming around to some new ideas possibly and allowing this offense to possibly grow in a different way. And that could spell success for the later part of Mike Tomlin's career. And hopefully Mike Tomlin can finish his career with playoff success, maybe a Super Bowl appearance, things of that nature in his final 3, 4, 5 years of being the Pittsburgh Steelers' longest tenured head coach possibly by the time it's over. But again, the Steelers now have him on his final year of his deal. Are they trying to load up because they know Mike Tomlin's done after this year? Maybe they're going to try to make a big run now in 2024 to finish Mike Tomlin's career on top like we did for Jerome Bettis. Hey, we'll see how it goes. But the Steelers, you got to be excited about them right now, and you got to give credit where credit is due, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers are busting their ass in order to get this coaching staff revamped and bolstered and ready to go for the 2024 season. All right, guys, thank you guys for coming through for another episode, our Thursday edition here on Mic Drop Sports. Don't forget our live show tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, for our live edition. Last night's live was another great success, so thank you guys so much for coming through. Almost broke the record that we set the night before with viewers. We did break one record of most continual viewers at one time. That was a record that we broke, so we are continuing to break records every time we get on that live. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big, but we always are breaking a record every time we get on there, and I owe that all to you, and we're going to continue to do that and continue to grow those live shows and continue to make those something for you guys to really have a sounding board to be heard with your voices and your opinions about the Pittsburgh Steelers, about the NFL in general. And again, I appreciate you guys so much. So until next time, I'm Jason. This is Mic Drop Sports. Peace.